Friends, it gives me great pleasure to deliver the virtual keynote address at the 8th edition of the Eastern Himalayan Naturenomics Forum 2020, organized by Balipara Foundation, with its guiding theme Eastern Himalayan Rural Futures. Ecology is Economy. I'm speaking to you at an epochal moment in the tide of human affairs. We are confounded today by the contradiction between the triumphs of technology and its apparent limitations. Pollution and climate change are issues of critical concern, with disease and global warming now seen as a direct result of lifestyle patterns. As a community, we have to harmonize nature with material aspirations. Ecology is to be assimilated with economy in such a way that one reinforces the other, and the fruits of material prosperity are shared by all, and the interests of coming generations are safeguarded. The Eastern Himalayas are an ideal location for this renaissance in economic and environmental planning. The northeastern region of India contributes a quarter of the country's forest cover. In Meghalaya, the forest cover recorded by satellite data makes up approximately 76% of the geographical area of the state. One of the great blessings of my life was to be born in a society that embraces nature. Our livelihood is intricately interwoven with environment. I recall my experience as a child traveling the rural areas in our state, where I have seen how human beings coexist with environment for sustenance. Nature provides us food, fiber, fuel, water. It regulates climate, pollinates crops, recycles nutrients, mitigates natural hazards, and maintains water, soil, and air quality. When I watch the folks tilling the soil to rear what urban folks call organic crop, I see the opportunity and possibilities that can emerge if villages were linked to the world by technology and management genius. Meghalaya is home to 834 medicinal plant species. The turmeric produced in the hills of Meghalaya has a staggering curcumin value of 8 to 12%, making it a mainstay of traditional cooking and medicine. A fascinating array of wild animals such as Asian elephant, Himalayan black bear, clouded leopard, golden cat, pangolin, and the western hollock gibbons dwell in our forests. The insect-eating pitcher plant constantly fascinates tourists. The numerous limestone caves in the state house multiple species of bats. As the Chief Minister of Meghalaya, I have the opportunity to articulate dreams and pursue their actualization. We are pioneering a concept called Smart Village that will leverage technology to improve the quality of life in 100 selected villages in the state. Our goal is to provide education, healthcare, access to clean water, sanitation, nutrition, and employment opportunities to people in villages through scalable business models. We shall be working in collaboration with a team headed by Professor Solomon Darwin, Executive Director of the Garwood Center for Corporate Innovation, Haas School of Business, with whom I had an invigorating exchange at the University of Berkeley last year. We live in a deeply interconnected world, and it is imperative that we connect and partner with individuals, organizations, states, and countries. I look forward to the 8th Eastern Himalayan Naturenomics Forum as a platform where the minds of Eastern Himalayan communities will connect and explore and unfold path-breaking opportunities. We have vast areas of enterprises to look at, from ecotourism to value addition of minor forest products to the harnessing of vast potential of tidal power to replacing the fossil fuels with their debilitating carbon footprints. There has to be a cultural reawakening to return to serving hot food on banana leaves and carrying groceries in biodegradable bags made of jute or fibers of leftover pineapple leaves. The moment of decision is now. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Namaskar. It gives me immense pleasure to be part of the 8th edition of the Eastern Himalaya Naturenomics Forum 2020. The Eastern Himalaya region is blessed with abundant natural capital, and for years these ecological assets have helped the communities thrive in the region. Since the advent of human civilization, we have depended on natural capital to drive our economic growth. Our natural assets have formed the basic of our existence and progress. Arunachal Pradesh has one of Asia's most biologically diverse and intact forest ecosystem. Due to its topography, the state has varied agroclimatic conditions suitable for horticulture as well as aromatic, and medicinal plants. More than 500 varieties of orchid can be found here. With such rich ecological heritage comes great sense of pride and responsibility to nurture the spirit of conservation. Our government is promoting ecotourism as it offers the benefits of conservation to communities. We have notified an ecotourism policy and recently created Arunachal Pradesh Ecotourism Promotional Society to promote ecotourism with active involvement of local communities. The USP of ecotourism is high value, low volume tourism that generate a significant amount of revenue to the local resident. We are also promoting vocal for local and development of local handicraft production units to support livelihoods. In a post-COVID era, the Himalayan region has to lead by examples and promote its strength of cultural diversity and rich ecology to attract investment in promoting sustainable local business. We have to come together to make the region the next most favored destination by big business. I wish the forum and its eclectic group of speakers and participants the very best, and I look forward to a positive nature action agenda for the Eastern Himalayas. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Dear friends and respected delegates, it gives me immense pleasure to deliver the virtual keynote address at the 8th edition of Eastern Himalayan Naturonomic Forum 2020, organized by Balipara Foundation, with its guiding theme, Eastern Himalayan Rural Futures Ecology is Economy. I am speaking to you at a critical moment in the tide of human affairs. We are confounded today by the contradiction between the triumphs of technology and its apparent limitation. Pollution and climate change are issues of critical concern. Diseases and global warming are seen as a direct result of lifestyle pattern. As a community, we have to harmonize nature with material aspiration. Ecology is to be assimilated with economy in such a way that one reinforces the other, and the fruits of material prosperity are shared by all, and thus the interests of future generations are safeguarded. The Eastern Himalayas are an ideal location for this renaissance in economic and environmental planning. The northeastern region of India contributes a quarter of the country's forest cover. In Mizoram, the forest cover recorded based on interpretation of satellite data from December 2017 to February 2018 is approximately 8,005.51 square kilometers, which is 85.41 of the total geographical area of the state. The forests of the state are under a three-tier management, namely those owned and controlled by the state, district councils and village councils. Tropical wet evergreen forests of the state have various valuable timber species and a top canopy. Bamboos occur abundantly in the middle and lower strata of the evergreen forest type. Canes are also present in this type of forest. It is to be noted that the state is rich in bamboo species, with over 27 species of bamboo reported from across the state. One of the great blessings of my life was to be born in a society that embraces nature. Our livelihood is intricately interwoven with the environment. I recall my experience as a child traveling the rural areas in our state, where I have seen how human beings coexist with our environment for sustenance. Nature provides us with food, fiber, fuel, water. It regulates climate, pollinates crops, recycles nutrients, mitigates natural hazards, and maintains water, soil, and air quality. I can foresee the opportunities and possibilities that our people in the rural areas can have if impetus is given to organic farming with technological intervention and proper scientific management. Mizoram is also home to numerous species of birds, reptiles, amphibians, fish, invertebrates, and mammals. Some mammal species seen in Mizoram include slow loris, the state animal red sparrow, Goral tiger, leopard, clouded leopard, leopard cat, and Asiatic black bear. As a Chief Minister of Mizoram, I have the opportunity to articulate dreams and pursue their actualization to achieve well-stocked high-quality forests with rich biodiversity for maintaining ecological balance and ensuring environmental stability while meeting the forest-based needs of the local people in the state. Our government is putting all effort in terms of policy, implementation, and actions to adopt effective silviculture practice involving the indigenous communities actively in the process of planning, implementation, and monitoring of schemes for the conservation of forest and wildlife across the state. We live in a deeply interconnected world. It is imperative that we connect and partner with individuals, organizations, states, and countries. I look forward to the 8th Eastern Himalayan Naturonomic Forum as a platform with Eastern Himalayan communities to connect, explore, and unfold path-breaking opportunities. It is important that we take inspiration from our indigenous communities in our lifestyle. In a post-COVID era, the communities from the Eastern Himalayan region have so much to teach to the world. As leaders and concerned citizens of the region, we need to collaborate in deploying those knowledge systems as a basis of our development aspirations. In conclusion, I hope that we reflect on the rich natural assets we hold and stand towards preserving it for today and for our future generations. The moment of our decision is now. I thank all of you.
Dear friends, I'm happy to deliver this keynote address at the 8th edition of the Eastern Himalayan Naturonomics Forum 2020. I thank the Balipara Foundation for inviting me to share my thoughts with experts and leaders working day and night to conserve the rich natural capital of our Eastern Himalayas. This is the greatest need of the hour as we face a global climate and biodiversity crisis, especially in the Northeast. I'm happy that the Badipara Foundation is working hard to conserve forest and to build sustainable livelihood of the communities in the Northeast. I'm sure that we as a region can work together for sustainable development of our indigenous and rural communities. The Eastern Himalayas region, falling under the Indo-Myanmar biodiversity hotspot, is one of the most important biodiversity hotspots in the world, and we are honored to be sharing this common heritage. The Northeast is home to a great variety of flora and fauna. It also has an immense diversity of indigenous communities living here since time immemorial. These communities have always shared a very strong bond with the natural environment and depended on the natural capital around them to survive and thrive. Ecology is economy, and it has been the fundamental principle driving their lives. Unfortunately, growing threats from climate change and mindless exploitations of natural resources have made our communities and our natural capital vulnerable like never before. Therefore, it is important that we draw upon our cultural traditions and customs to find solution to these problems. I have no doubt in my mind that our traditional knowledge system can help conserve our natural capital. The conservation of flora and fauna by the communities of Nagaland has been an age-old practice. We have records of community-based conservation initiatives being undertaken as early as beginning of the 19th century. Yangpang village in Longland district declared some of their forest as a community conserved area way back in 1842. Since then, village after village have taken similar action. The village council controls and maintains these conservation areas as per age-old Naga customary laws. Hunting of wild animals or birds, as well as tree felling for timber, etc., is banned in these CCAs. This best practice of designating village forest lands as a community conserved area has been protected and conserved biodiversity in the state. My government is also providing additional legal protections to these communities conserved areas. By designating them as community reserve under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. As on date, the state has declared 117 community reserve, which is the highest in the country. Conservation comes naturally to Naga communities as they live in harmony with nature, depending on it for food, shelter, medicines, etc. Thus, we can proudly say that Nagas are a century ahead of the rest of the world in recognizing the importance of biodiversity and preserving them for future. In times like today, when we face an unprecedented calamity in the form of global pandemic, we need to rethink our ways of living. It is important that we take inspirations from our indigenous communities and adopt their lifestyles. This doesn't mean that we have to set aside economic considerations, but we need to ensure that our ecological assets are not compromised. In a post-COVID era, the communities from the Eastern Himalayan region have so much to teach to the world. As leaders and concerned citizens of the region, we need to collaborate in deploying this knowledge system as the basis of our development inspirations. In conclusion, let us retain and learn to live in harmony with nature, a way that our communities have adopted for centuries and move toward a more sustainable society. I wish the forum all success, and I invite all the world leaders to partner with us to conserve and sustain our rich biodiversity and to build a sustainable future for the coming generations. Thank you.
It's a great honor to be delivering this keynote address at the 8th edition of the Eastern Himalayan Naturenomics Forum 2020. I thank Balipara Foundation for inviting me to be a part of this platform to share my thoughts with practitioners and leaders working for conserving the rich natural capital of the Eastern Himalayas. The Himalayas is not only a geographical entity, the Himalayas stand for the very ethos of this country. and signifies all that is great in our culture and in our value system of India. This is the need of the hour as we face a global climate and biodiversity crisis, especially threatening the Northeast. And as you know, the Northeast is the most diverse part of this great country. Every few kilometers we go, we find new cultures, new ways of life, and it is the home of the most fragile ecosystems in this country. The work of the Balipara Foundation in this area for restoring forest and building sustainable livelihoods for communities in Assam is very important. And I hope that as a region, we can work together strongly towards this for sustainable development of our indigenous and rural communities in the Northeast. The topic that is being discussed today is a topic that is most important. It is ecology for economy. Today, when we talk of development, we talk of SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, and for any development to be sustainable and far-reaching, it has to be eco-friendly. Otherwise, all development will go to waste and it will not sustain as it should. And in the Northeast, there is much to learn about the symbiotic relationship between man and nature. I had been to an environment summit in Shillong a few years back, and I had said something which I want to repeat here. I had said that the tourism slogan for India is Atithi Deva Bhava, but for the Northeast it should be Prakriti Deva Bhava, because all our value systems, our ways of life of the indigenous people, and all our livelihoods are dependent on the environment and forests. And indeed there is a lot to learn. There is a lot to learn from the indigenous way of life, how man lives with nature in harmony. But it is not to say that we should not make progress. But as we make progress and move on, move ahead, we should take our traditional knowledge, traditional wisdom that has been handed down to us through the millennia with us to reach greater progress and greater development. This is what one needs to learn from the indigenous lifestyle of Northeast, how people live in complete harmony with nature and how nature supports life systems, and it is a relationship of give and take based on wisdom and tradition. Talking about Tripura, the state is endowed with abundant surface water resources of nearly 10 major rivers which flow through Tripura, benefiting and adding quality to agriculture and the ecosystem as a whole of the state. However, polluted stretches of river are resulting to a massive destruction of ecology, resulting into loss of habitat, disruption of food chain, and also causing death to aquatic lives. It is also affecting people and wildlife habituating in the catchment areas after consuming the contaminated water. A few factors like encroachment of river banks, dumping of industrial and biochemical waste into the rivers, discharge of human excreta directly into the river, chopping down of trees for jhum cultivation is leading towards soil erosion and ecological degradation. Let us all understand the critically we are facing in the form of global pandemic and the need to rethink our ways of living. It is important that we take inspiration from our indigenous communities and adopt their lifestyles and treat our ecology as our assets and therefore reach sustainable development goals, and that can only be done when we realize that ecology is economy in the Northeast. We speak of economic in highly complicated terms, of pie charts and graphs. But ecology and economy is bonded together in Northeast in the simple lives of our people. Our lives are entwined with nature, whether it is in the cultural field, in the economic field, or the value systems that we have. In closing, I hope that we reflect on the rich natural assets and the rich natural heritage that we hold and stand towards preserving it for today and for our future. Thank you so much for inviting me to give this address, and I thank Balipara Foundation for doing a great job in many fields. Thank you so much.
শুনি ভাল পাইছোঁ যে বালিপাৰা ফাউণ্ডেশ্যন প্ৰতি বছৰে ন্যায় এবাৰো আমাৰ বায়োডাইভাৰ্চিটি লৈ কনভেনশ্যন কিবা এইটো ভাৰ্চুৱেল হওক বা এনেকুৱাই হওক কৰিবলৈ গৈ আছে। বালিপাৰা ফাউণ্ডেশ্যন এট এভৰি ইয়াৰ বায়োডাইভাৰ্চিটিৰ কাৰণে চিন্তা চৰ্চা কৰি থাকে আৰু সেইকাৰণে মই এই ফাউণ্ডেশ্যনক অন্তৰৰ ফালৰ পৰা আমি কৃতজ্ঞতা যাচিছোঁ। আজিৰ দিনত যদি আপুনি বায়োডাইভাৰ্চিটিৰ কথা কয় বা পলিউশ্যনৰ কথা কয় বা এনেকুৱা আমাৰ এনভাইৰনমেণ্ট ৰিলেটেড কথাবিলাক যদি আহে, তেনেহ'লে এই কথাটো সঁচা যে চহৰ ভিত্তিক আমি মানুহ থাকিব লাগে, কিন্তু আমি বায়োডাইভাৰ্চিটি আমি চহৰৰ ভিতৰত আমি সঁচাকৈ যেনেকুৱা কৰিব লাগে এনেকুৱা আমি কৰিব নোৱাৰা হৈছোঁ। ইটছ এ নেচাৰেল, কাৰণ চহৰ অট্টালিকাৰ পাহাৰ ইয়াতে স্বাভাৱিকভাৱেই চিমেণ্ট কংক্ৰিটেড বোঝাই ইয়াতে থাকিবই। খুব নেচাৰেলি আমাৰ বহুতখিনি পলিউটেড এনভাইৰনমেণ্ট আহিব, কাৰণ আমাৰ ৱেষ্ট বহুতখিনি হয়। বাট আজিৰ দিনত ক'ব পাৰোঁ যে গোটেই বিশ্বজুৰিও যদি আপোনালোকে চিন্তা কৰে, ভাৰতবৰ্ষ যদি চিন্তা কৰে, তেনেহ'লে ভাৰতবৰ্ষ প্ৰেক্টিকেলি গ্ৰামভিত্তিক দেশ আমাৰ। গ্ৰামতেই আমি ভাৰতৰ প্ৰাণ খুজিবলৈ যদি যাওঁ, তেনেহ'লে গ্ৰামতো আমি পাওঁ। তো গ্ৰামৰ মানুহ জাগ্ৰত হ'ব লাগিব, গ্ৰামেৰ যি স্বাভিমানীটো জাগ্ৰত হ'ব লাগিব। আমাৰ গাছ গাছনি, আমাৰ ৱাইল্ড লাইফ, আমাৰ ঠিক তেনেকুৱা এনভাইৰনমেণ্ট আমি কেনেকুৱা গ্ৰামলৈকে লৈ যাব পাৰোঁ, আৰু গ্ৰামলৈকে যদি আমি লৈ যাব পাৰোঁ, তেনেহ'লে আমাৰ যিটো এটা বেলেঞ্চিং এনভাইৰনমেণ্ট, এই বেলেঞ্চিং এনভাইৰনমেণ্ট আমি সমাজক দিবলৈ সক্ষম হ'ম। সেইকাৰণে আপোনালোকে দেখিছে যে আমাৰ চৰকাৰৰ ফালৰ পৰাও মাননীয় মুখ্যমন্ত্ৰীৰ নেতৃত্বত আমি এই যে 4 বছৰৰ কাৰ্যকালত আমি চেষ্টা চলাইছোঁ, আৰু আজিৰ দিনত অসম 222 স্কোয়াৰ কিলোমিটাৰ আমি গ্ৰীণ কভাৰেজ বঢ়াবলৈ সক্ষম হৈছোঁ। ঠিক তেনেকুৱা আমি বায়োডাইভাৰ্চিটিৰ লগতে আমাৰ সম্পৰ্ক থকা ৱাইল্ড লাইফ আপোনালোকে দেখিছে। এটা সময় আছিল ৰাইনো পচিং হয়, আজিৰ দিনত ৰাইনো পচিং টোটেলি বন্ধ হৈছে। এইটো আপোনালোকৰ নিচিনা যিসকল মানুহ এনেকুৱা প্ৰকৃতিলৈ কথা কয়, আপোনালোকৰ নিচিনা এই NGOবিলাকক লৈ বা এনেকুৱা ছ'চাইটিক লৈ, ফাউণ্ডেশ্যনক লৈ, তেওঁলোকৰ সহায়তা লৈ আমি এইখিনি কাম কৰিবলৈ সক্ষম হৈছোঁ। সেইকাৰণে বাৰম্বাৰ আমি কৈ আছোঁ যে আপোনালোকক আমাৰ কৃতজ্ঞতা, আৰু লগে লগে আপোনালোকৰ নিচিনা যিসকল ৰাইজ, যিসকল NGO, যিসকল এছ'চিয়েশ্যন, তেওঁলোক আগুৱাই আহি আমাক সহায়তা কৰিছে। এই সহায়তাৰ কাৰণে সমাজ আজিৰ দিনত ৰক্ষা পাই আছে। আমাৰ ফালৰ পৰা আমি চেষ্টা চলাই আছোঁ, বন বিভাগৰ ফালৰ পৰা। আপোনালোকে জানে যে আমাৰ অসমৰ বায়োডাইভাৰ্চিটি ৰক্ষাৰ কাৰণে অলপতে আমি কিছুমান ষ্টেপ লৈছোঁ। ষ্টেপৰ ভিতৰত যেনেকুৱা সাহিত্য মনীষী উপবন আমি 24খন আমি আৰম্ভণি কৰিছোঁ। ইটোৰ ভিতৰত 13খনৰ আমি অলৰেডি ফাউণ্ডেশ্যন দি আমি কামটো আৰম্ভ কৰিলোঁ। বাকীটো কাম এই ডিচেম্বৰৰ ভিতৰত হ'ব। আমি ইয়াতে 1000 প্ৰজাতিৰ আমি বিভিন্ন বৃক্ষৰাজি ৰোপণৰ চেষ্টা চলাই আছোঁ, যাতে আমাৰ ইয়াতে আগতে যেনেকুৱা বায়োডাইভাৰ্চিটি যি এটা হাব ক'ব পাৰোঁ আমাৰ নৰ্থ ইষ্টত আছিল বা আমাৰ অসমত আছিল, আমি যাতে আকৌ গঢ় দি উঠাব পাৰোঁ, তাৰ কাৰণে আমাৰ প্ৰয়াস চলি আছে। আৰু আপোনালোকে এই কামখিনি কৰি আছে। COVID-19ৰ ভিতৰত, COVID-19ৰ যি সংক্ৰমণো চলি আছে, তাৰ ভিতৰত থাকিও যে আপোনালোকে এই ক্ষেত্ৰত যি ভূমিকা লৈছে, তাৰ কাৰণে পুনৰ আপোনালোকক ধন্যবাদ জনাই আমাৰ বক্তব্য সামৰণি মাৰিছোঁ।
অসমৰ পৰ্যটন প্ৰকৃতিৰ ওপৰত নিৰ্ভৰশীল পৰ্যটন আৰু প্ৰকৃতিক বাদ দি অসমৰ পৰ্যটন হ'ব নোৱাৰে অসমলৈ যিসকল পৰ্যটক আহে সেই প্ৰাকৃতিক দৃশ্য উপভোগ কৰিবৰ কাৰণে আহে আৰু সেই কাৰণে আমি সদায় প্ৰকৃতি ৰক্ষা কৰি পৰ্যটন আগবঢ়াব লাগিব সেইকাৰণে ইকোলজি আৰু ইকনমি দুইটাই এনেকুৱাকৈ বেলেন্স কৰি ৰাখিব লাগিব যাতে আমাৰ প্ৰকৃতিৰ ভাৰসাম্যতাটো থাকে আৰু সেই কাৰণে আমি প্ৰকৃতিৰ ভাৰসাম্য ৰক্ষা কৰি স্থানীয় যুৱক যুৱতীসকলক এই ক্ষেত্ৰখনৰ লগত জড়িত কৰি তেখেতসকলৰ যাতে অৰ্থনৈতিক স্বাৱলম্বিতা আহিব পাৰে অৰ্থনৈতিকভাৱে সচ্ছল হ'ব পাৰে সেই ধৰণৰ এক পৰিকল্পনা কৰি আমি আগবাঢ়িব লাগিব বালিপাৰা ফাউণ্ডেশ্যনে যি ধৰণৰ এই ধৰণৰ কাম কৰিছে তাৰ কাৰণে আমি তেখেতসকলক ধন্যবাদ দিছোঁ আৰু আমি চৰকাৰৰ ফালৰ পৰা বন বিভাগ আৰু পৰ্যটন বিভাগে এই দুইটা কথাই লক্ষ্য ৰাখি যে ইকোলজি আৰু ইকনমি দুইটাই সুন্দৰভাৱে থাকিব লাগিব এই পৰিৱেশ আমি সুন্দৰভাৱে ৰাখিব লাগিব আৰু তাৰ জৰিয়তে স্থানীয় যুৱক যুৱতীসকলৰ আত্মসংস্থাপন আৰু উপাৰ্জনৰ পথ মুকলি কৰি দিব লাগিব আৰু সেই লক্ষ্য আমাৰ
Welcome, Gil Saab, and thank you for taking the time off for this conversation and dialogue of ours. Fundamentally, my basic issue to put this in context is, today we are at a tipping point. The Eastern Himalayan region faces an extremely fragile and unpredictable future, as we all know. It's warming faster than the rest of the world. It is therefore being threatened by extreme weather events, flooding, desertification, fragile rural incomes, and therefore obviously economic instability. But we do believe that this is also an opportunity that we have to tackle this ecological crisis to categorize green growth. Gil Saab, in your mind, how would you define this opportunity? And based on your varied experiences and your international exposure as well, what could be your vision towards transforming this economy and this current society for the regeneration and rejuvenation of the critical ecosystems and preserving our natural resources, which are our inheritance? Over to you, sir.
Banerjee, first, I have to thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak on this platform. The Honorable Chief Minister of Meghalaya had delivered the keynote address for the Nature Economic Forum, the 8th edition. And in that, he had highlighted key issues for the role people can play, a proactive role in the economic life. In the process, also salvaging their nature. Speaking about the Eastern Himalayas, when we look at the map, we see a giant screen of robust Himalayas covering the entire, you can say, the upper part of the country. In fact, the Himalayas, they tower right from Kashmir and come down to Arunachal Pradesh. Now, they are the source of life. And preserving them has been a cause of grave interest, grave concern for policymakers in recent years, especially when the climate change challenges became more manifest towards the second half of the 20th century. Now what we are observing in terms of flooding, desertification, and all other processes which you have just mentioned are because of a mismatch between individual and society events and the integrity of nature. We are referring here to the renewable and the non-renewable resources which we have. Renewable resources are those which can be renewed in a certain context of time, and therefore their depletion is not a matter of concern because the hope of recovery is always there. In terms of non-renewable resources, once they are lost for good. Now, forestry. Forests are one ecosystem which are seen as a salvaging instrument for the human race all over the world. In fact, the forest cover we have is a direct measure of the robustness of the nature and also the health of society. Because as we know, forests are the largest reservoir, the largest pool for carbon, which has been corroding the atmosphere and the greenhouse gases which have been threatening the human societies. Now, what is happening is due to the unplanned and often extravagant activity, consumer activities that has come under turmoil. So because of this, a certain reorientation is taking place. In terms of opportunity, the first thing I would say that the bare survival of the human race and our own survival would depend on keeping our nature intact. That's number one. Number two is that the nature's worth has to be clearly stated. What that implies is that natural resource accounting, which so far has been treated more as an academic exercise, will have to be given a more practical shape. And the nature of our, the contribution which the nature is making will have to be reflected in the manner in which we do our planning. Now, having said that, I believe that the northeastern part of India, which is the part of the Eastern Himalayan ecosystem, is at a very key point to lead the country and to showcase our talent, our resources passed down over generations, to be a role model for the rest of the country and the whole world. In our part of the world, in the Northeast, societies are living in close integration with nature. And because of that, there is a very natural kind of a complementary and a very symbiotic relationship between the humans and nature, which is reflected in the kind of cultivation they are doing, the organic farming, the medicinal plants they are rearing. And this itself can be the center point for laying down the framework for a new India and a new world, which will be at peace with nature and will also be economically robust.
Great. You've covered some very, very important points, but I've got one more issue, which is, the most exposed and vulnerable to these climate risks and the natural and ecological degradation are our forest fringe and rural communities. How can we build resilience amongst them, one, and two, what are the best practices and the best models that your government in Meghalaya and your forest department in Meghalaya are actually putting together to impact this movement and creating policies for the betterment of not only of the natural resources, but also of the forest fringe and rural communities who are becoming more and more economically vulnerable?
As far as Meghalaya goes, I would first like to refer to our land laws, the laws in the state, and which put most of the land under ownership of the communities, which means that any development work has to involve the people as very key partners, not just as key partners, as a sort of a leading edge in the entire development process. Speaking of forestry, we are raising substantial plantations. We have been doing it for the past decades. About 30,000 hectares have been covered under social forestry plantations raised by the Forest Department. And all these plantations are in the private or community lands. And the implementation is to the instrument of the forest development agencies, the FDAs as we call it, and the joint forest management committees, which would include the adult members of that area, plus officials from the government, and district councils. So the people are always part of the development process, especially when the forestry implementation strategies are concerned. And right for the stage for maintaining those plantations till they become mature, the people are involved, and subsequently it's given back to the charge of the landowners. So this process inherently place the people at the center stage of the afforestation process. Now, coming to the other part of it is the technical skills which people would need to reach the market so far as their products are concerned. I'm referring here specifically to the minor forest products, as we call them, which are not exactly minor in many cases in the country because their economic worth is phenomenal. Now, these minor forest products, it might be honey, it might be turmeric, broomstick. Now, to connect these to the market, you need value addition processes, number one. Number two, you also require professional management support in terms of marketing, in terms of branding, which the people, especially the forest fringe communities, as you just mentioned, they do not possess because of lack of education, because of lack of market connectivity. Now, to give them that assistance, the government's role becomes very important. And in that process, the government of India, as well as the state government, have been focused on providing all assistance to our local communities in the state to preserve their knowledge and also to assist them to reach a level where they can connect directly with the market and secure the best results for their products. This would involve important policy initiatives. For example, when we talk of turmeric, the Lakadong turmeric in the Jayante Hills has got the value of Kutwin at 8 to 12%. Now, to connect that, it will require very intelligent branding, marketing, all that support. And the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, Government of India, is actually implementing a specific scheme to assist in these value addition and marketing interface processes.
Oh, super. Thank you. This was quite an eye-opener and quite inspiring, and I'm sure Meghalaya will actually lead the way and be a market leader and show the rest of the country and the rest of the world how to progress with creating natural capital from natural assets. Thank you very much, Gil Saab. It was a pleasure interacting with you, and I hope we meet up very, very soon.
Hello, I am Ravi Kansina from the Indian Forest Service, West Bengal cadre. Just let me tell you a little bit about the Indian Forest Service. This is one of the All India services in our country. The other two being the Indian Administrative Service and the Indian Police Service. Our service is primarily tasked with the sustainable management of all forests and forest lands in our country, which include production forests, sanctuaries, national parks, conservation reserves, and protected forest areas. When we join this service, we come into it and join a particular state at the junior most level, and as part of our career we rise up slowly into policy advisory roles and then ultimately into policy making roles. As part of this service, you get an opportunity to begin exploring all your aspects of social development, of nature conservation, of production, of research, especially with nature and environment. With that experience, you have inputs into policy in your mid-career levels. And then at senior levels, you are actually into shaping policy and also helping in protecting or getting the policies implemented throughout the country. As I said, as part of my job, I have gone through all these levels. When I joined the service, I was posted as a very young divisional forest officer in the district of Jalpaiguri, and I was looking after a sanctuary which was basically for conservation of the one-horned Indian rhino, the Jallapara Wildlife Sanctuary. Part of my job there was to implement the policy level of conservation and protection, but also being from the Indian Forest Service, we were expected to do a little bit of research which would help in policy planning, also guide other people, and also work with the local population, the human beings who are around the national parks and sanctuaries, so that their livelihoods are not impacted due to conservation measures, and in some way or the other try and help them out so that their livelihoods are also enhanced and they also get some economic benefit just by having conserved the rhinos for posterity. Subsequently, I moved on to Government of India, having been posted in the Ministry of Environment and Forest. There I got a much larger canvas to work on all afforestation schemes across the country. Also to look at schemes which other countries were implementing and learn from them and give inputs to how we can make changes into our own afforestation programs and our policies for forest conservation and preservation. When I had joined service, the focus on the forest department was for production forestry. We used to raise huge plantations. Those plantations would be harvested mainly for supply of timber, and a large number of people were dependent on forest for as workers in sawmills, as timber industry, as carpentry, joinery industries. And part of it used to be something that in those days were called the minor forest produce. These were everything else besides timber. In the last 35 years, I have seen the changes that have come into the way we approach forestry. Gradually, we shifted more towards conservation. We stopped commercial production of timber. We stopped cutting down natural forests. And we started just renewing older plantations. Any plantation that was done maybe 60, 70, 80 years ago, those were the only ones that were cut. And there was again more focus on things other than timber. What we used to call minor forest produce, with the emphasis on the word minor, became non-timber forest produce. And the livelihood of the people around forest, the fringe population, their economy depended mostly on this non-timber forest produce. We tried to enhance their production, we tried to encourage proper marketing, proper handling, more propagation of such things. And gradually the economy shifted from timber to non-timber. Then I saw a change in having more conservation measures. Larger areas were converted into conservation reserves, into nature parks, national parks and sanctuaries. And the policy changes also reflected in the same way. In that, again, the nature conservation for minor forest produce or non-timber forest produce changed to conservation of the whole thing for conserving the genetic biodiversity and maintaining the gene pool of the forest area. So over a period of time, I had an opportunity to work in all these things, in actual implementation of the policy, in advising the policy, changes in the policy, and now ultimately at the ultimate policy making level. Let me tell you, it's really been very, very rewarding working for the social sector. Actually trying to implement the policies and the changes that really benefit the people. Our whole focus, or rather my whole focus, has been that I should try and get work done which will wean away the fringe population, the forest fringe population from the forest. Their economy and their earning is increased so that they don't have to depend on forest, indirectly helping in conserving and preserving the gene pool and the forest for posterity. So my message to everybody, all the youth, is that it is a job as far as anybody is concerned. But if you really want to do any good for the social sector and work in a myriad of fields in the whole dimension of things, then I believe that the Indian Forest Service is one of the best services where you get an opportunity to do just about anything in the social sector. So, in the end, again, I would like to wish all the youth all the best and invite them to join the Forest Service. And I would like to wish Palipara Foundation all the best in their endeavor for this Naturonomics Forum, and that we have a bright future together.
Truly honored to be in the presence of Mr. Shri Mama Natung, who is the Honorable Minister of Forest, Environment, Youth Affairs and Water Resources of this pristine state called Arunachal Pradesh. A state which has almost 80% forest cover, of which 60% is actually controlled and managed by the communities. A state that survives in the basis of diversity and ethnicity, having more than 25 local communities and tribes. 35 rivers originating mainly from the Sangpo head of Tibet, which in itself means purity. Over 500 species of orchids, over 200 dialects, and it is actually the nature capital of not only India but maybe for most parts of the world. So I would request Honorable Minister Sir just to explain how they are using their natural assets and nature capital to actually enforce this whole logic that we at Balipara Foundation believe in, that ecology is the driver force of economy and naturenomics is a must going forward, which is the interdependence between nature and economics. Over to you, Minister Sir.
Thank you. खास करके प्रवीण Banerjee, the co-founder of Balipara Foundation. तो रियली आपका क्वेश्चन आपने पूछा कि अच्छा क्वेश्चन पूछा और इट इज़ फर्स्ट टाइम आई कम हियर दिस योर प्लेस एंड आपने नेचर को इतना अच्छा से इको फ्रेंडली मेंटेन करके रखा हुआ है, रियली इट्स वेरी गुड। और उसके बाद आपने सवाल किया कि प्रदेश में क्या स्टेबल, क्या इतना बायोडाइवर्सिटी है और इतना डायलॉग से इतना कम्युनिटी है, तो किस रूप में कैसा तय किया जाए। रियली इट्स ए वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन। नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न रीजन में बोलेंगे तो अरुणाचल इज द largest forest coverage. Then we have Arunachal Pradesh have 83,742 square kilometers, and out of that we have 80% forest coverage. And what we are doing, what government is taking policy, that nature and culture is very important. And this technology time इस समय में बट हमारा जितना भी जो यूथ्स है वो नेचर का साथ और कल्चर और नेचर में वो इतना करीब से नहीं जोड़ रहा है। इट इज़ द आवर बिगेस्ट चैलेंजेस बिकॉज टुडेज टेक्नोलॉजी समय में दे आर यूजिंग मोबाइल व्हाट्सएप तो बट से ओके वो भी हमको चाहिए, टेक्नोलॉजी जरूरी है हमको, बट हम लोगों को कल भी मैंने मीटिंग में कहा कि प्लीज ट्राई टू हमारा नेचर और कल्चर उसके साथ भी जोड़ना होगा। देन नेचर को प्यार करेगा तो नेचर विल केयर अस टू। दैट्स व्हाई हमारा इस बायोडाइवर्सिटी में, हमारा नेचर में, हमारा फॉरेस्ट में इतना जो पोटेंशियल है, जिसमें आपने जिस प्रकार से जो मेंटेन करके रखा हुआ है, वी हैव 600 समथिंग ऑर्किड स्पीसीज इन अरुणाचल प्रदेश। एंड आई थिंक बम्बू में जो लोकल बम्बू है, जो इंडिया में से कंट्री में से सबसे बेस्ट बम्बू जो है अपना प्रदेश में है, अरुणाचल में। एंड इस टाइप का जो जिस हिसाब से जो अपना प्रदेश में है जो मेडिसिनल, अभी आपको मैं बताना चाहूँगा कि अरुणाचल प्रदेश अभी हम लोगों ने, सरकार ने ये निर्णय किया कि हम लोग जो मेडिसिनल प्लान हम लोगों ने कल्टीवेशन स्टार्ट करवा दिया। तो कम्युनिटी बेस्ड एनजीओ के माध्यम से अभी पूरा हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में हम लोगों ने शुरू कर दिया। एंड उसके बाद में आप देखे होंगे कि चेसा अपना जो सरकार का एक वहाँ में ईटानगर में एक चेसा बांदरदेवा से कुछ दूर में है, हम लोगों ने इतना बढ़िया प्रिजर्व करके रखा है कि जितना स्पेसिस है, ऑर्किड्स है, जितना बम्बूस है और जो मेडिसिनल प्लांट है जिसमें सीडलिंग सीड्स, उसे हम पूरा प्रदेश को दे रहे हैं। तो मैं यही आपको बताना चाहूँगा कि हमारा पेमा खांडू, ऑनरेबल चीफ मिनिस्टर पेमा खांडू के नेतृत्व में हम लोगों ने नेचर को और फॉरेस्ट के ऊपर किस प्रकार से हम इसको बचा के उसी से हमारा लोगों को लाइवलीहुड, सेल्फ सस्टेनेबल, सेल्फ रिलायंस, हम इस माध्यम से हम हमारा लोगों तक कैसे पहुंचे, इसका हम लोगों ने मैकेनिज्म शुरू कर दिया। और का सारा चीज़ और अपना जो असम तो अपना राज्य है, अपना जो प्रदेश से काफ़ी, और बालीपड़ा तो बहुत ही सामने, आपका यहाँ से तो काफ़ी सामने है अपना अरुणाचल। तो इसलिए मैं आपसे यही रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहूँगा कि मीना जी साहब, आपका जो टेक्नोलॉजी है आज का तारीख में क्या है कि टेक्नोलॉजी हमको जरूरी है। टेक्नोलॉजी मीन्स नेचर को भी हम ख्याल करना, हमारे लोग नेचर को जोड़ना,
नेचर फॉर बिजनेस,
नेचर को जोड़ के, और टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ में भी किस किस जगह में कहाँ में और हमारा पोटेंशियल है। अरुणाचल में हम लोग को भी इतना अभी हमारा सरकार आने के बाद हम लोग बारीकी से उसको काम करना शुरू किया, लेकिन पहले हम लोग को उतना पता नहीं था। बात हमारा अपना जो माननीय मुख्यमंत्री पेमा खांडू साहब जब से हम लोग सरकार बनी, उसी से हम लोग का जो पोटेंशियल है वो सारा काम हम लोगों ने काम करना शुरू किया। तो आप लोगों से भी मैं रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहूँगा कि जो आपका एनजीओ है, जो हमारा सरकार में हमारा लोगों में आपका अगर अच्छा फीडबैक, किस प्रकार से और अच्छा लोगों के लिए बिजनेस नेचर के साथ में बने।
Most certainly, sir. We are really inspired by what you said, and I'm sure, considering that you have not only the portfolio of forest, environment, and water resources, that you are also the portfolio of youth affairs. I think Arunachal Pradesh is in very safe hands, and I think you will steer your state to become a role model for the rest of the world. And any help and support that Balipara Foundation can provide, it will be our honor and our pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's indeed a pleasure for me to be invited as a part of 8th Eastern Himalayan Naturenomics TM Forum 2020. I appreciate the initiatives taken by the Balipara Foundation for organizing TM Forum 2020, which is based on ecology is economy. It's a very pertinent subject for the Eastern Himalayan and its transboundaries countries in India. As we know, India is one of the megadiversity countries, and there are 4 biodiversity hottest spots in India. One, the Himalayan region, the northeast India. Third is the Nicobar group of islands, which is covered under Sundaland and part of Western Ghat and Sri Lanka. That is the 4th biodiversity hotspots in India. As per our information on the overall biodiversity of India, as we know, there are more than 102,161 species of animals, and there are 50,000 plus species of the plants known from the country. Himalayan region as well as the northeastern India of our country harbors more than 40,000 species of the plants and animals, which is highest in the country, and I can say it's highest in the Himalayan region. Since this forum 2020 is organized for developing the area for the development and livelihood based on the ecology and how that could be transformed to the economy. It's a challenge for everyone, but nonetheless, as we know that biodiversity is invaluable, and these resources are very important for sustenance of our livelihood of the human being. I have been working on biodiversity for about 4 decades and served Zoological Survey of India for last 3 decades. I am also fortunate that I have visited all the northeastern states of our country. I understand how they are diverse in terms of plant and animal diversity, cultural diversity, art and crafts, traditions, as well as the culture, which is multi-ethnic. And these are the potential resources for generating the livelihood for the local people. Even these areas are having many threatened species, umbrella species, charismatic species of the plants and animals like snow leopard, barasingha, rhino, flying squirrels, red panda. Hundreds of species are there and many of them are endemic to the region. Similarly, as far as the plants are concerned, rhododendron, landscape, pine, fir, orchid landscapes attract lot of our tourists to the region. If you have district-wise network, corridors involving all the villages in the region, that may generate lot of employment to the local people. Even species-based tourism also could be developed in the region. I am happy that this program is organized by the Balipara Foundation for the livelihood and the generation of the employment for the local people, which may become the model for the future for other states in India. And I recommended that all the state and central government should work in tandem to encourage these activities. Even that could be supported by the several schemes which are already going on. And I wish all the success for the Forum 2020 for this great endeavor. Thank you very much.
Namaskar. This is ML Srivastava, Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Sikkim. The classical debate of conservation versus development. It's a big predicament for the government, for the public per se, for the civil society, that we have to strike a very cogent balance between the two. If we are too conservation oriented, Sometimes it may affect the developmental process or vice versa. So we have to see that there can't be a uniform solution everywhere. It has to be contextual. Sikkim, it is one of the smallest states of the country. It is second smallest state of the country, with hardly 0.2% of the geographical area of the country. It is the economy here is primarily rural and agricultural, and different ethnic groups are characterized by specific ecological adaptations.